often do we think about the chaos and destruction that civil wars bring, not just to a country, but to humanity as a whole? Civil wars, the internal conflicts that shatter societies, often leave a profound and lasting impact. They reshape nations and redefine histories. In this exploration, we'll journey through time to understand the causes and consequences of 5 of the most devastating civil wars our planet has ever witnessed. Join us as we delve into the histories of the 5 most deadly civil wars our world has experienced. Our first stop takes us back to 1861, to the American Civil War. This pivotal moment in history was a violent struggle, sparked by deep-seated disagreements over the institution of slavery and the rights of states. The North, known as the Union, sought to preserve the United States as a single nation and abolish slavery. The South, or the Confederacy, fought for the right to secede and maintain their way of life, which included the use of enslaved people. The war raged on for 4 long years, marked by bloody battles and immense loss of life. It was a time of heroes and villains, of courage and cowardice, of hope and despair. But amidst the turmoil, the course of history was being shaped. The turning point came in 1865. After a series of Union victories, the Confederate General Robert E. Lee surrendered at Appomattox Courthouse, effectively ending the war. This marked the beginning of the Reconstruction era, an arduous period of rebuilding the shattered nation and integrating the newly freed enslaved people into society. But the war's legacy was far from over. The abolition of slavery was a monumental achievement, but the struggle for equal rights would continue for more than a century. The war also left a lasting imprint on the national psyche, a reminder of the cost of division and the price of freedom. The American Civil War, a brutal clash over principles and human rights, ended with a victory for the Union but left deep scars on the nation. Moving forward to 1917, we find ourselves in the midst of the Russian Civil War. This was a time of profound upheaval, a tumultuous struggle between the Red Bolsheviks and the White anti-Bolsheviks. A war born out of deep-seated ideological differences, social unrest, and dissatisfaction with the existing order. The Bolsheviks, led by Vladimir Lenin, were a radical socialist group that aimed to overthrow the provisional government, which had taken control after the fall of the Tsarist regime. They believed in the power of the proletariat, the working class, to seize control and establish a new world order. On the other side of the battlefield, the Whites represented a broad coalition of anti-Bolshevik forces. They were a diverse group, ranging from monarchists longing for the return of the Tsar, to moderate socialists who rejected the Bolsheviks' radical approach. The conflict was brutal and bloody, with millions of casualties. It was a war marked by terror, atrocities, and famine. Yet, despite the odds, the Red Army prevailed. Their victory was largely due to superior organization and the leadership of figures such as Leon Trotsky. The close of the war in 1922 saw the establishment of the Soviet Union, marking the dawn of a new era. It was the birth of the first communist state, a significant moment in history that would have far-reaching implications for the rest of the world. The Russian Civil War, a bloody struggle for power, ended with the birth of the first communist state. Our journey continues to 1936, to the Spanish Civil War. A conflict that shook the very foundations of Spain. This war was primarily a clash between 2 ideologies. Those of the Republicans, who sought to uphold a democratic, secular government, and the Nationalists, who were a coalition of conservatives, monarchists, and fascists. The seeds of this conflict were sown in the political and social unrest that had been brewing in Spain for decades. The Republicans, who came to power in 1931, were met with resistance from the Nationalists. This resistance escalated into a full-blown conflict by 1936. The war was a brutal and bloody affair, marked by atrocities on both sides. It drew international attention, with countries like Germany and Italy supporting the Nationalists, while the Soviet Union backed the Republicans. This international involvement only served to intensify the conflict, making it a proxy battleground for the ideological wars of the time. After nearly 3 years of intense fighting, the war ended in 1939 with the victory of the Nationalists. This marked the beginning of a long-lasting dictatorship under Francisco Franco, who ruled with an iron fist until his death in 1975. The war had profound and lasting impacts on Spain, shaping its political, social, and cultural landscape for decades to come. The Spanish Civil War, a battle between democracy and fascism, ended with a long-lasting dictatorship. Our next stop is 1945 to the Chinese Civil War. A nation torn between two visions, the Chinese Civil War was a monumental conflict that would shape the future of the world's most populous country. At the heart of this brutal war were two major political powers, the nationalists, led by Chiang Kai-shek, and the communists, under the leadership of Mao Zedong. The causes of the war were deeply rooted in ideological differences and a struggle for power. The nationalists, backed by the West, sought to establish a democratic government and a capitalist economy. On the other hand, the communists, inspired by the Soviet Union, aimed to create a socialist state. The war was characterized by fierce battles, strategic maneuvers, and a high toll on the Chinese people. The tide turned in 1949, when the communists, having gained popular support through their promises of land reform and equality, won a series of major military victories. The nationalists were forced to retreat to the island of Taiwan, marking the end of the war on the mainland. The victorious communists then proclaimed the creation of the People's Republic of China on October 1, 1949, with Mao Zedong at the helm. This marked a new chapter in the history of China, one defined by the principles of communism. The Chinese Civil War, a fight for the future of China, ended with the rise of communism. Our final stop takes us to a more recent conflict, the Syrian Civil War, which began in the year 2011. The war erupted from the tension that had been brewing between the Assad government and various opposition groups. The roots of this conflict can be traced back to the Arab Spring, a wave of anti-government protests that swept across the Middle East. In Syria, these protests were met with a heavy-handed response from the government, leading to a full-blown civil war. The Assad government, backed by Russia and Iran, faced off against a diverse range of opposition groups. These included everything from moderate pro-democracy forces to extremist groups, with foreign powers often backing different factions. The result was a complex and devastating conflict that has led to a severe humanitarian crisis. The war has taken a staggering toll on Syria. Hundreds of thousands of people have been killed, and millions more have been displaced. The country's infrastructure has been decimated, and large parts of its major cities lie in ruins. Despite numerous attempts at peace talks and ceasefires, the war is ongoing, with no clear end in sight. The conflict has become a geopolitical chess game, with multiple foreign powers involved and pursuing their own interests. The Syrian Civil War, a heartbreaking example of modern-day conflict, continues to impact millions of lives. As we reflect on these devastating conflicts, we are reminded of the immense cost of civil war. The American, Russian, Spanish, Chinese, and Syrian civil wars each hold a tragic tale of division and conflict. They serve as a testament to the destructive power of internal strife, fueled by ideological differences, political instability, and social upheaval. These wars have shaped our world, leaving indelible marks on history. May these histories serve as a stark reminder of the price we pay for division and conflict. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed.
Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it and share it with your friends who love history. Stay tuned for more history inspirational videos and tips. Thank you for watching.